Hey folks, back in the garden. It's evening time. Getting some of the final daylight before the sun goes over the trees here. Where we have our greenhouse position, just west of it, there's some really tall cottonwoods, which is a large deciduous tree. And so during the warm months we get evening shade, which is great. So today I wanted to talk about some more about wood chips, our favorite topic here. So last time we talked about how it helps you retain soil moisture, allowing you to water much less or none at all. How it feeds the soil by breaking down the compost and feeding the soil food web. Also how it keeps the soil cool and how that contributes to the condensation of water inside the soil called dry watering. And here's kind of a analogous process of that going on. Here we have our water barrels, which are mostly full. So they're acting as a large thermal mass here. So even though the sun's been baking them all day, I can feel with my hand on the inside they're quite cool, probably in the 60s or so. Because of that, in the evening here, when the temperature drops a little bit and the air temperature is still a lot hotter than the temperature inside of the barrel, you can see water just out of the air condenses out. The humidity out of the air condenses out as actual liquid water. And this Okinawan sweet potato is really taking advantage of that. And so that's exactly what happens in your soil if you have porosity and a living soil food web, and most important of all, a thick, protective, deep mulch cover. So, some of the other reasons we didn't mention last time is that that cover also means that you really don't have to weed. If you guys look around, really the only stuff that's coming up is stuff we seeded, what we call cover crops. So we're kind of changing the nature of the weeds that are present in the system and engineering it to be things that we want to eat, things that we want to build the soil, things that will have multiple beneficial functions to us. Even though weeds themselves are beneficial as well, there's a lot we can learn from the presence of weed, things like soil condition. If you have a lot of taprooted weeds like dandelions and thistles, it means you have compacted soil, and that's what you need to work on. If instead you have a lot of leguminous weeds like clover and things like that, it means you have a nitrogen depleted soil. So weed is really an indication of something lacking in the soil. So that's another great thing about the wood chips, is they keep the soil covered, which prevents seeds from sprouting. There's thousands and thousands of seeds stored in this soil right now for almost eternity. And it takes some seeds only 1/30th of a second of sunlight exposure to sprout. So, that's why you have to have a permanent cover, maintain that permanent deep mulch. So let's see, some of the other reasons we use wood chips is that we can obtain a direct yield from them. So in this case, we inoculate them with saprophytic fungi and then harvest the mushrooms and eat them. In our case, we went for the Stropharia rugosa annulata, which you saw in the previous video outside in the garden. Some of our early harvest here in the fall. And so we inoculated that outside and here in the greenhouse in the fall of 2015. We actually got a small harvest of them in the greenhouse underneath of these pallets that the water barrels are sitting on. And I don't see any of that right now. They might still come up again. But we had some there in the spring. And the way that we inoculate these into the ground is that we first purchase some spawn. And spawn is just mycelium, so the body of the fungus inoculated or spread onto some substrates, so things like straw, wood shavings, sawdust, things like that. Maybe a grain of some sort. Something high in cellulose, high in protein, maybe some sugar as well. So you get that. You then can directly inoculate your wood chips outside or in your greenhouse. And to inoculate means just to seed it, to plant that fungus there, basically. Or you can multiply that spawn. And I did that indoors when I first had my spawn last year. And I made, I don't know, probably 20 gallons from a small amount that I initially bought, so about a quart or so that I bought from the company. And I multiplied it up to about 20 or 30 gallons pretty quickly indoors. And the way you do that is you get some fresh medium. So if you're using wood chips, they prefer deciduous trees, so broadleaf trees. You can look online what the particular fungus you're trying to grow prefers. Rugosa annulata has a quite large range of species that it can grow on, and it tolerates even a little bit of conifers. But I spread the spawn initially on hay straw, or rather wheat straw, from the Sonoran wheat that I grew myself, you saw in a previous video, and also on wood chips, and let's see, something else that I can't remember now. And under optimal conditions, you can inoculate 5 gallons of it and get it propagated in 10 to 15 days, so it can be quite quick. This Rugosa annulata, the wine cap mushroom, is a very aggressive fungus. And so once you build up your stock, you can then spread it out. You can maintain a clean line indoors, which you constantly propagate, and then the stuff that you make, you take outside and use it as inoculant for new patches. The medium that you inoculate on it needs to have some moisture in it. But you don't want old age stuff because it will be inhabited by too many competing bacteria and other fungi. So preferably should be fresh, that you then wet it down in like a wheelbarrow or in a bucket if you have a small amount. If you're doing it outdoors, don't worry about it, just wait till the rains start, which they have in Oregon. So it's a great time of year to do it, the fall, which is the natural time that the mushrooms spore out. Well, some mushrooms. And so yeah, once you build up your stock, you can start spreading it around. And the way that we inoculated here, so I have some wood chips that I dug up outside that have mycelium of the wine cap growing on it. And that's those white threads you see there covering this piece of wood. And they're just starting eating it because I can't break it apart too much. But when they're done, I can a little bit over here. When they're done with it, it'll be just like a sponge. And they're consuming the cellulose basically. Yeah, really spongy and soft. Anyway, so imagine if this was our spawn, which it could be. This very well could be used. We would take this and basically make lasagna, or basically seed it like you would any other, like you would a plant. And so if we take this away, just to make an example, if this was our soil, which is not, this is actually compacted compost here, and there's some mycelium down there. But imagine if this was our soil, we'd bring our spawn in, sprinkle some all over the place, and then come back and cover it up with the wood chips that we want to grow it on. And then wet it down perhaps, or wait for the rains. And that's it. Simple as that. Spread it over a large area. We've inoculated most of this greenhouse and most of our plots outside. It spreads very quickly itself. You can also spread it by taking the base of the stipe, the stem of the mushroom, cutting it off and spreading it with that little piece. So as far as propagating the spawn, I like to use these 5-gallon buckets. You see I've drilled holes in them about 3/8 of an inch. And you just pack this full of the inoculum and just do a couple inches of wood chips, some spawn, couple inches of wood chips, some spawn, on and on. And you can get this done in about 10 days under good conditions, mild temperature, like 70 degrees or so. And another way you could do it is in smaller Tupperware, like this one has holes cut out because we're using it for sprouting grain for chickens, but something like this would work as well. Or just plastic Ziploc bags with some holes cut on the side. The key is to have good airflow, but maintain moisture. If it gets too wet and soggy, other fungi and molds will dominate. If it dries out, it just won't propagate as quickly. So it's just a balance, just like soil in general. And you can take it all the way to fruiting. So the mushrooms that we want to actually consume and eat is just a reproductive organ of the fungus. Fungi, amazing creatures. They can most of them can reproduce in like 7 or 8 different ways. Spores released by mushrooms just being one of them. So the rest of the fungus is, the actual body of the fungus is this mycelium thing. These hyphal threads that make up its body. And yeah, you could probably take them all the way to mushrooms indoors in a bucket like that. You would have to cap them with something like compost, something that had a lot of competitors and was pretty devoid of nutrients. And when the mycelium, the fungus, interacts or encounters this nutrient-poor layer, it triggers it to produce a flush of mushrooms as a way to keep its genetics alive. And so, yeah, last time you guys saw some outdoors. And I was just picking some of those and getting them ready to put in a bag to take home. And we talked about the features of the wine caps last time. You can see that burgundy color on the young ones on the top with a little bit of white speckling initially. The partial veil that's just started to separate here. It sticks around on the stipe, like you can see here. The grayish burgundy color of the pores. Thick stem for some of them. Anyway, as I was getting ready to leave here, getting this bag, just out of the corner of my eye, I spotted kind of something strange. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's get a little closer. What do we have here? Look at this beautiful bunch right here in our the northwest corner of our greenhouse, right at the edge of the plastic. I love that they're growing here. It means that the mycelium is going out into the wood chips we have outside in the path and into the greenhouse and connecting the two in our system. And we're going to make a video coming up here soon about our greenhouse design and how we use it to harvest water and how it fits overall into our permaculture design at this property. But yeah, look at these beauties. There's more coming up down there. Oh yeah, look at those pinners. So there you go. Obtaining a yield from every element, if possible. And every element should have many functions. As we've discussed, wood chips has numerous. And so you can see even a little back corner that isn't being cultivated or even utilized is behind these two shelves here. Store a bunch of stuff. Still producing a yield. Anyway, so let us know in the comments if you guys do these type of videos that don't necessarily have to do with cannabis. We do a lot of wild foraging out here in Oregon. Love mushroom hunting for wild choice edibles. Season's just getting started, so if you're interested in maybe coming along with us on a foray out into the woods of Oregon to pick some mushrooms, to learn about that and how it connects to permaculture and other natural systems, let us know in the comments. Maybe we'll make a video about us mushroom hunting. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have a nice day.